What is the strangest way your so has seduced you? On the second date, I invited him, my boyfriend, to my house so we could hang out and so I could show him this insane show called Toast of London. About halfway through the episode, I thought he was laughing and knocked his head into my shoulder. We were sitting pretty close on my bed. The second time it happened I realized it was something else. Did you just kiss my shoulder? Yeah? Turns out he was giving me pecks on my shoulder throughout the show and I didn't notice. I proceeded to take him to Pound Town. It wasn't until after that I found out he was inexperienced with that kind of stuff and it totally made sense. Though I will say that he's definitely not inexperienced now. She cleaned my keyboard and desk etc. And she also kept the monitors in the same position when she was done. Sorry you had a bad day. Want to order a pizza for dinner and watch a Disney movie? I'll wash your hair later. I married him. Edit. Now with more words. My wife sometimes will just walk up to me and say, "Hey I." She picked the cat up and locked it outside the bedroom. I knew that meant we were going to bang so I got a boner. It was just awkward to get hard at the sight of her removing our little kitty. I thought she wanted to hold hands. Till I realized she was guiding me to the bed. Then I thought she wanted to nap. And then she got naked and jumped me. I am not a bright man. He put a D in my pocket. No really. I was washing dishes and he came up behind me and put something in my back pocket. It was his D. He does the monkey walk. Arms above his head. Hip cocked to one side. Then lots of wiggling hip swaying as he runs towards me making what can best be described as Zoidberg noises. It's absolutely hilarious. And never fails to turn me on. At a big group dinner, I noticed him showing photos of his dog to some girls. They were obviously into him. But he kept us up for a full hour and was honestly just sharing photos of his dog. After he introduced himself to me and asked if instead of partying at the frat house, I wanted to hang out with his dog. And it was honestly just hanging out with him and his dog. Ugh, even thinking about it reminds me how hot it was. Sometimes when I cry gives him a boner. Whenever he makes a spreadsheet and explains it to me, I usually end up jumping him before it's done. What can I say? Competence turns me on. She says, "Oh hey, I shaved my legs." One time we were all drunk, and my friend decided he wanted to sleep under my bed. So naturally, when my so and I went to bed, he suggested we start dropping items of clothing on the floor next to the bed to make it seem like we were gonna bang, just to freak out our friend. There was no intention of actually banging at the beginning, but our gag was so convincing. The troll under the bed wasn't the only one who believed it. She sneezed and her boobs jiggled. Don't think that she did it was on purpose, but hey, it worked. Edit. Spelling. My GF was in bed napping as I believed while I was downstairs watching our housemates play video games. She sent me a message to come up and cuddle. She cuddled me for about 2.7 seconds before making her real intentions very, very clear and proceeded to make good of it. I was standing in the kitchen making a banj and she violently slides her hand up my butt crack and then shouts "card accepted." Usually it starts with her saying, "Hey, I was watching a video the other day," and I say, "Wonderful," and she says, "I mean, one of your kind of videos," and I say, "Wonderful," and before I finish the sentence I have a risky hard on, cause I do not know what's coming next, except it's usually me. My girlfriend likes to roleplay sometimes. One time we were just talking about my son and how she thought that, when he gets to high school and starts dating girls, they might have crushes on me. This turned into her pretending to be a 16-year-old girl seducing an old man S Blaster 69 into ducking her for $sign. It worked. My girlfriend makes this weird dinosaur sound. Once got home from a party with my then girlfriend. I had a serious case of the beer its, so went to take care of that. A couple minutes later, as I'm sitting on the toilet sweating profusely, girlfriend just walks in, sits down on my lap, and guides my hands to her boobs, while, capital I, was pooping. To be fair, she'd had quite a bit to drink, but to this day I still can't quite figure out what was going on. Not sure if it's intentional, but I always get turned on when my GF plugs my phone charger into that hard to reach wall outlet. She wanted to go to Taco Bell, so she put my D in her mouth. I took her to Taco Bell. Demonstrated good work ethic and that he could take control of a situation. He was my supervisor before we were together, and literally did the manager's job for him. Seeing this, admittedly kinda nerdy looking guy take charge was just so bizarrely attractive. Got me moister than an oyster. We met at an orgy and he went to seductively put his arm around me, but misjudged the distance and slammed his elbow into my nose. Hard, the pain was incredible. The look of I have ducked this up on his face was absolutely hilarious and priceless. Still together 6 months later. All while we were talking dating, she never seemed interested in the fact that I was classically trained at guitar. In fact, one reason I liked her was because she didn't make a big deal of it like other people did. But one night after I was practicing on my acoustic, I walked into the bedroom and she was ready to go. I'd accidentally seduced her, apparently, so she decided to intentionally seduce me. Turns out, she liked that I played but kept it nonchalant to seem non-fangirly. My signature move is my boyfriend will go to shower and when he walks out I'm laying on the bed. Bed faces towards the bathroom door, starting things off. So, once he opens it I'm ready to go and naked. He's always like, damn, I need to close this door more often. Fun times. We watched the SpongeBob porno. It's on Pornhub. I think his name is Square Knob Square Nuts or something dumb. It is awful. I highly recommend watching it. After we saw it, we laughed so hard we ended up ducking. Mission accomplished. Our confuse said banners. Edit. SpongeBob Square Nuts Part 1 and 2. Dressed up in a classic 60s costume that, unbeknownst to her, was my dad's biggest fantasy that he used to talk about all the time. Laughed my ass off. Explained the situation. Then we had sex. Needless to say, she never wore that specific costume again. But, that was not the first, nor the last, time she dressed up special. Her getting overly excited does it for me. She's been wanting to see a movie for ages and it hasn't been in a theater around us until last week. As soon as she found it and told me I was already looking for tickets, but I'll be damned if seeing just how excited and happy she was about it and asking if we could go wasn't a huge turn on for me. She just asked me to have a sex with her. Ducking weird, right? Like who does that? I so likes to act weird to make me laugh. One day he hurt himself acting funny. We're laying in bed, watching a movie. He turns and looks at me, sticks his tongue out and has it between his teeth. Then he pulls his shirt on his head like Beavis and just stares at me making these weird hissing gurgling sounds. Then he slowly gets out of the blankets, stands on the bed in a hunched over position and starts acting like he's climbing the wall. He's tall and lanky, so it looks really weird. Then he snaps his head back to look at me and jumps over me on all fours, back and forth across the bed like Smeagol or Summit. I guess he forgot for a second that our bed was so high up. We also had a ceiling fan on. He stood up on the bed, and the ceiling fan just smacks him real good in the forehead a few times. He goes off it and falls on the bed holding his head. He already had a knot popping up and it cut his head too. I'm laughing so hard I'm gasping by this point. I go to grab a wash rag and some ice. I clean his head up and I felt really bad for laughing at him popping his noggin, so I cuddled him and started kissing him all over the face. One thing led to another and we got naked. He thinks it's hilarious now. By tackling my ex in a football game on New Year's night. The funny part was, she was wearing a My Neighbor Totoro onesie. Totoro bashing into my ex never seemed so sexy. Edit. I can't spell Totoro. Sue me. Wearing a Richard Nixon mask and singing the Golden Girls theme song. On our first date we had shrimp pizza. She got one of the shrimps and ate it in a sexy way. As sexy as you can eat shrimp. Ever since then every time we have shrimps she locks eyes with me and eats it. Edit. She. Bumble date. It was snowing, and I was too drunk to drive. She lived close and offered me a place to sleep since she wasn't too drunk. We get into bed, start making out, and she tells me that we're not going to have a sex. I'm very okay with this, and tell her so. Apparently that was when she decided that we were definitely going to have a sex. Best sex I've ever had. So I guess I accidentally seduced her. I seduced my GF by telling her the current status of the DC universe and the revelation of a new dark section of the multiverse. Hey, there. Good looking dart, I got a bucket of chicken. Put Nutella on his D. Needless to say, it worked. Tried to do a sexy dance. Slipped on the curtains. Pulled down the curtains and the railing holding them up. Proceeded to get railed. Kind of the opposite. But last time my BF and I had sex, I jokingly said wanna put your peen in my vagine? Turns out he did. Gonna try it out again later. Do you remember our personal best for amount of times we had sex in a 24-hour period? Me neither. We have to set a new one. She came down the stairs and showed me her tits. Pretty goddamn effective actually. He sexily whispered the Green Lantern oath in my ear. Well, I know it's the other way around, but I used a semicolon correctly 60 times were had. First overnight stay with the ex-fiancé. She showed me a whole roll-up bag of sharpened knives she brought, delighting in detailing all the uses they had. So hot. Him. Wanna? Me. I'm hairy and need a shower. Him. Just how I like you. It was on. I'll be doing something. He'll come into the room and stand there and I'll look over to see him looking totally normal except for the fact his not at all insubstantial manhood is just there, hanging out. Literally. Always catches me off as awkward. He waits until I'm involved in doing something. Turn around and there's a giant D in my face. I'm not complaining. I laugh. We bone. It's fabulous. Before we were dating we were talking about our favorite sex positions and she didn't know the name of hers so she drew me a crude drawing with a blue and red stick figure to explain. Still don't know what it's called. Reverse cowgirl, but the girl is leaning back. But it wasn't long before I had her in that position. I text him Mia from the other room. He stops what he's doing and he comes running, losing his pants along the way. When he gets to the bedroom, he sticks his head in and asks, "Oh yeah?" She sent me a snap after we had a fight and I was staying at my parents'. It was 2 pairs of boobs, one of them being her own. I did the 2-hour drive in 40 minutes. Best apology ever. I was having a not so small anxiety attack and he started telling me about politics. Next thing you know. Okay. Back in the 70s I was living with my new squeeze Judy. I'm B. She was extremely cool. I was yucking it up. On the phone. With one of my gay guy friends and I guess she wanted attention. She came in through the hall totally naked with her ginger snatch, cowboy hat, gun belt with pistol, and her boots on. The best part was the bandolier. It was ducking fabulous. Edit word. Thanks fellow redditor. Blue-footed booby pasties. Boobies on her boobies. My boyfriend rhythmically flares his nose to Six song lol. The other day we got home from seeing TLJ, and I went on a 40-minute diatribe about why I loved it, and midway through my wife stopped me and was like, "Okay, I'm super turned on now." When my GF decided to play my video games while wearing my hoodie and not much else. When he tutors me in chemistry, I love when he explains to me how to do problems and shows me all this other information I didn't know. It blows my mind and makes me want to blow his. Tried to straddle me in the chair I was on. Chair tipped back. I got a black eye. She got a bloody nose. We both got really bad headaches. Her parents were suspicious. 10/10 would love to have her back. Ever seen that episode of Monster Factory where the McElroys are playing Spore and the mating call is Suomi and Kondak Dis? For a while, that was also our mating call to each other. This post makes me kinda sad, as I can't think of anything that I do that actually turns on my wife, or if I turn her in at all, nor does she do anything specific to turn me on. Oh, she does turn me on in many ways but doesn't make an effort to do so. Sorry if I'm being a buzzkill on these other good vibes. Using a throwaway for this one. Not and so but a guy I met at a cabin trip. We had gotten drunk and went to third base the night before. Fast forward to the following day. He acted like nothing had happened so I kinda play along. We're alone in the cabin and the Wi-Fi wouldn't work. He's an engineer and is very techy, so I watched him intently and manually reconfigure the router. Each stroke of his fingers on the keyboard reminded me of the strokes he'd put inside of me the night prior. I had never been turned on by watching someone fix the Wi-Fi before. He must have been completely numb to not sense the palpable sexual tension emanating from my side of the couch. Edit. TLDR. One night stand made me wet by McGoovering a router. She said she was starving and wanted steak. I said 10 more minutes because I was tired and it was early. She really wanted that steak. Tinder date. We watched Edge of Tomorrow and made a pillow fort. Consider me seduced. My ex came over one night a year after breaking up. We caught up on old times and decided to watch some TV. I asked her if she'd like a glass of wine. She looked at me and said if I'm going to make bad decisions then I'm going to need stronger alcohol. Crown and Coke it is.